Hi everybody, Jason Klum with the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. This is episode 13 of my Comedy Album a Day series that I'm going to be doing. Pretty self-explanatory what I'm doing. You can catch the rest of this episode on YouTube in case I go over a minute, which I have been. Except for the first one. I thought I was going to keep each of these to a minute. Who the hell am I kidding? I host a Comedy on Vinyl podcast, as I said, and I love comedy albums. I collect them on vinyl because it's fun, and a lot of these you can't really get on CD, and if you do, it's expensive, and this is a fun way to get them, and I do enjoy putting them on a thing. I think it's called a turntable. Anyway, so this today is what I almost said. I picked 1958's self-titled Let Me Learn to Speak. Self-titled Carol Channing album. I'm not editing these. I'm not even editing. Me not saying editing. Me saying editing. Anywho, this is fantastic. Oh my. I had never really heard of, of Carol Channing, and if you're not exposed to her this is a problem that I have. There are a lot of artists who I'll grab an album because I will just not have thought that they would have ever had an album because it just didn't occur to me. Now, of course, I know that she's famous for musicals, for Broadway, but at some point in your life, I was exposed to her as a personality. So, not thinking about it, I never went out of my way to look for a Carol Channing album. And I've seen this. This has been sitting in Atomic Records in Burbank for a while. And I didn't pick it up right away because it was in the personality section. And I therefore assumed, when it's in the personality section, you don't assume it's comedy. Just read the back, idiot. Or look it up, dummy. I'm speaking to me now. And actually, if I had read the back, one of the coolest parts of this is it's autographed by Carol Channing. And I looked it up. That's clearly her actual signature. So that's kind of fun. I've got a few autographed albums that were autographed personally to me, but I do like finding these in stores. So this is her singing all kinds of things, but also doing interstitial stand-up bits. She's doing introductions and stories that are hilarious, even if you don't know who she's talking about. She has a really great story about the Gabor sisters, that they were enjoying her work, and anybody who didn't work, they were walking around and slapping them to make them enjoy Carol Channing. And I love that that's still relevant to the idea that we have of the Gabors, or at least of Zsa Zsa. It's fantastic, and it's got her signature "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend." She is the person who premiered that song to the world, so it's, I'm sure she closed every show with it ever for a very long time. It even says in the back, what's great about this, there's 11 tracks, and it lists every hotel she performed in on the tour, so it's kind of fantastic. And I don't know, it's really great. She's just there's so much energy and charm here that I don't know what to do with it. I want to re-listen to it because I know that there were bits and pieces where I ended up distracted, and I was like, oh god, I missed some of the specifics of her joke. Her stories are great. Her stories are fantastic. She's just so magnetic, and I wish I'd seen her on stage, especially if you read people describing watching her perform. She still is around. I don't know that she performs still. I might have to try and get her on Comedy on Vinyl, if that's at all possible. I will drive to her. I've done it before. You guys should listen to my Rusty Warren episode. I drove to her, and that was one of my favorite episodes of all time. One of the cool things about this album, too, is the notes on the back are good. They're actually quite good. The opening paragraph of it, I kind of want to just read verbatim. It's really fantastic, and it's one of the reasons I like this album so much. It does define why she's so great. Okay, I'm just going to read it. America has a long list of great singing comedians, but when it comes to comedians, the roster becomes much smaller, and Carol Channing is at the top of it, as this captivating and hilarious record proves so conclusively. Why the female side of the comic art should be less densely populated than the male, it is hard to say. Everyone knows or should know that to sparkle with spontaneous wit on a stage or nightclub floor takes the hardest kind of unspontaneous work, and to play the fool takes brains. But everyone also knows that women have more brains than men and work twice as hard. Perhaps what happens is that the men like to create a wishful image of women, placing them on a pedestal in which brains and hard work have no part. Carol Channing should know, since some of her great impersonations have been of this American dream girl, all glamour and helplessness, whose starry eyes light up at the thought of diamonds and mink. And by doing such roles, Miss Channing has risen to a pedestal of her own, which is much more solid. It is that of an irresistible entertainer and fine artist. I think there's maybe only the slightest bit of hyperbole in there. It's obviously meant to build her up. It's on the back of her own album. I don't know who wrote it. It doesn't say who wrote it. don't care. I actually really like it, and I think it's a positive message. Even if they do have to do say that, well, women are smarter than men thing. It's a little it's a bit much to do that, but it is actually a way to set you up for listening to it. Because it gives you some perspective on all the hard work she's. I mean, that's honestly that's it. That's all you need to realize is that this woman works as hard as, just because I did this last night, this man. Possibly harder. Hard to say. I don't know. She can, but the thing is, she can sing. She's a powerhouse singer, and on top of it, just so funny. Actually, that'd be interesting. I would love to know what she considers herself first, singer or comedian. I would probably say entertainer is probably what she says first, because if you read about her history and that she got started when she was in middle school, she's loved it her whole life, and entertaining is her thing. It's just a fantastic album, and I think it's great. And I do think listening to it with the perspective of actually reading these notes on the back is helpful. Again, they're PR notes, but this is some of the more open-minded PR note stuff that I've ever read, especially for 1958. I don't know. I think it's wonderful. Everything she does, her impressions are fantastic. You might have to look up some impressions. Like, for instance, I know who Tallulah Bankhead is, but I guess I didn't realize her voice sounded like that at this point. So you might have to look a few things up. But she was a well-known impressionist. Sorry, my phone died in the middle of recording. Anyway, Carol Channing's self-titled album, 1958, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun to listen to. I recommend hunting it down if you can find it anywhere. I don't check these to see if you can find them, because I've got them, and I'm getting to listen to them. So please listen to that one. Also, listen to the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes. Find it at stolendress.com, where you can also find all my other podcasts and my movies and my books and things that I work on all the time. That'll be it. If you share this, please hashtag it Comedy Album a Day. Thanks so much. I'm Jason Klom, and as always, have a good thing. Let's see if I can stop I'm just going to keep doing this.